Hey, everybody, please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Chris Peets here today with former Lieutenant Governor Bill Baxley. It's always a pleasure to be with him. Thankful for this time I'm getting to spend with him. Mr. Baxley, how are you? And thanks for this conversation.
Well, thank you. It's always good to see you. Looking forward to it.
Great. Well, I've asked you some of these questions before, but I've never had them on tape. And, I wanted to go back to when you was first got into politics. I mean, how did a district attorney from, what was it, Houston County, how did he end up setting an incumbent?
Well, a lot of people have wondered about that. I think a lot of it was just being at the right place at the right time, and had a lot of things came together, and I had a lot of good help. I ran against an incumbent that had been Attorney General for 2 terms, and in fact, the election before I ran, he had set the record for the most votes received of anybody 4 years before. That would have been 66.
So that took a lot of guts to take on somebody like that then.
Well, I felt like I had a good shot. And,
well,
it worked out.
Well, let me ask you, did running for Attorney General, were you motivated any of that by prosecuting the Chambliss and the 16th Street Baptist Church bombers, or did that come along as you went through your career as Attorney General?
Well, that came later, of course, but I had that in mind, that if I got elected, I wanted to do that, but I didn't tell anybody. If I'd have
you've probably
made it clear that I wanted to do that, I never would have got elected.
Yeah, it's I hate to interrupt, but I heard during this when Senator Jones got elected, some guy said, "Well, I'm not voting for him because he prosecuted Blanton and Sherry," and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, what? How could you be thinking something like that? 2000 and whatever year it was. So I would ask you about that case now, because I've studied. I've read a lot about it, a good bit. What led you to Chambliss? I mean,
well, that's a good question, and
testing 1 2
we
3.
started
Testing
out
1 2 3.
going
Good afternoon, everybody. I am
some
Chris
dead
Peets
ends.
here today with
Wasn't
former Lieutenant Governor
And
Bill Baxley.
our first
Always a
suspect
pleasure to
was
be with him.
guy you might have heard
Thankful
of
for
Georgia,
this time I'm
J.B.
getting to
Stone.
spend with him. Mr.
He was
Baxley,
actually
how are
in
you?
prison when
Thanks
Mr.
for this
Chambliss, I believe.
conversation.
They
Yeah,
showed the same
he
cell.
was always good to see you. Looking forward to it. I don't know what they were
Great.
saying.
Well,
They
I've
were-
asked you
he's-
some of these
'cause
questions
he was
before, but I've never
writing-
had them on
he was
tape.
writing letters
And,
back home.
I wanted to go back to
I know part of the time Chandler
when you was first got into politics. I mean, how did a
Scottsboro.
Now, was that
a
the black
district
kid that
attorney
he
from,
helped
what was it, Houston
write
County?
letters
How
with?
did he end
Yeah,
up
I
setting
think
an
so.
incumbent?
I think
Yeah.
so. No, he
Well,
was,
a lot of people have
he
wondered
was,
about that.
was white.
Well, I read that
I
there
think
was
a lot
a
of it
kid
was just
that was
being at the right place at the
mentally
right time, and had
handicapped. Chambliss tried to help
a lot
him.
of things came
I
together.
agree.
I don't really know about that.
And I just kind of
I ran
wondered,
against a
I didn't know if
incumbent that had
maybe
been Attorney
somewhere in
General
his
2
heart
terms.
he felt amends, or how much truth
before
it was. But I'm
I
sorry for
ran,
interrupting you. Go ahead and tell
He
me.
never
You
showed any remorse that I know of.
Right.
Votes received, anybody. We started out after J.B. Stoner. That would have been 66. We had a tip.
That
that
took
he
a lot
had
of
done it,
guts
and
to
sure enough,
take
he
on
and his
somebody like
group
that
were
then.
in Birmingham that day of the bomb. Like I had a good shot. And they did do a bunch of
Well, let me
bombings
ask
all
you,
over
did,
the southeast. They did
Running for Attorney
a
General,
bunch of temples.
were you
Jewish
motivated
temples,
just
did
any of
one
that
in
by
Charlotte, did one in
prosecuting the
Jacksonville,
Chambliss
did one in
and
Miami,
the 16th Street
did one
Baptist
in
Church bombers,
Atlanta,
or did that
did
come
one in
along
Nashville.
as you went through your
We
career
got a
as
tip
Attorney
that
General?
they had done. That came later, of course, quite a few months. I had that in mind. Turned out it got a lot of bad things. I didn't tell him he didn't do the church bombing.
Yeah, you've probably
made it clear that we don't want to do that. But we did find
Yeah,
out.
it's hate to interrupt, but
He
I
had
heard
shut a bomb off back in '57.
during his when Senator Jones got elected,
Church.
some guy said,
And so
"Well, I'm not voting for him
we
because
made a
he
case
prosecuted
on that,
Blanton and
and
Cherry."
that's
And
what,
I'm
we
sitting there
convicted
thinking,
him of.
what?
So that wasn't a waste
How
of
could
time.
you
We
be
also
thinking
got
something like that? 2000,
Glenn and Montgomery had done.
whatever year it was.
Time on that.
So I would ask about that case
I should
now
have had enough sense.
because I've studied. I've read a lot about it.
Glenn
a
and
good bit.
Birmingham didn't need me help. Another Glenn.
What led you to
Glenn
Chambliss?
mean folks that could
Well,
do
that's
work
a good
themselves.
question.
That wasn't a waste of time either, because we started out, even though we found out our information was bad, and they didn't do the church, some dead ends. We found another crime that they had committed where they made a Winn-Dixie truck. Our first suspect was a jump off a bridge you might have heard of in Georgia named J.B. Stoner.
He was actually in prison with Mr. Chambliss, I believe. They shared the same cell.
That's right. But then I don't know if they were in the same cell now.
They were. Because he was writing letters back home.
We got part of the time Chambliss was in the cell with a guy named Hugh Otis Bynum, and Chambliss was.
Now, was that the black kid that he helped write letters
also
with?
Found out. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No, Hugh Otis was been on Chambliss.
Well, I read that
almost minutes
there was a kid that was. Do you think the FBI just ignored it, or they
No,
Chambliss
they were
tried to help him?
I heard that. I don't know anything about that.
And I just kind of wonder. Like, I didn't know if maybe you think they just somewhere in his heart, Birmingham in '63 with that failed men's, or how much truth it was. But I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
He never showed any remorse that I know of. You had cases where some of these jurors in the South. We started out after J.B. Stone turning folks loose and signing confessions.
Well, I remember
he had done it, and
I was reading
sure enough,
something back. There was two guys
in Birmingham.
They
that
killed
day
two
of the
young
bomb,
black
but,
kids.
And they
15
did
minutes after they completed both of them, said, "Yeah, we killed them."
Southeast, they did.
And
They did a
wow.
bunch of temples, Jewish temples. One in Charlotte.
One thing about that case that's always
did one in Miami.
kind of
Did the one in
caught me.
Atlanta. Did one in Nashville.
What was it? What did? I think his name was
So we got a
Floyd
tip that
Garrett.
They had done that.
Was a police officer. What did they
Quite a few
stop by
months.
Chambliss' house that morning for a
Chambliss,
shotgun? I believe. I mean,
He was Chambliss's nephew. Done a lot of bad
yeah,
things.
what did I
a lot of
say?
bombings,
Son, I
but he
said-
didn't do the
yeah.
church bombing.
and I never know why he was stopping by there because it looked like a police officer would have his own
We did
shotgun
find out
and a firearm, and then why he needed to stop by
that he had
Chambliss'
set a bomb
house.
off back in '57. It shows was allegedly the reason he did. So we made a case on that, and that's what we convicted him of. He was a witness so that wasn't a waste of time. We also got in the trial. But the Klan and Montgomery had done it.
Well, I was talking to
Spent some time on
another
that.
attorney the other day, and he
And,
said he couldn't remember.
I should have had enough sense
But I
to
brought
know
up something,
that
and I asked, I said, wasn't
Klan in Birmingham didn't need
wasn't there
help
some
from another Klan.
wet
They
dynamite,
had
or
plenty
some
of-
dynamite
plenty
was
of
found
lean folks
a
that
few
could do-
weeks
could do the
before
work themselves,
the
but,
bombing, or a few weeks
that wasn't a
after? And he
waste
said,
of
no,
time
that was
either,
years
'cause,
before. And it
even
could
though
be,
we
and I just
found
got
out later,
mistaken. But I thought there was some
information
dynamite
was
that
bad,
was
they didn't
found
do the church bombing.
there, as long as
we
as
found
well as in the
another
house
crime
when
that they had
Chambliss
committed
went
where
crazy
they
about them
Winn-Dixie truck
entering one of the
driver,
rooms.
Jump off a bridge. Yeah, I think that's true. And,
You know, 'cause he told me, he said, and I didn't want to get argumentative because he was very nice to have me on there, but he said, no, that was years
Then we
before
got on
getting your cases crossed, and I
on
just let it go
Chambliss.
at that.
And when we got
Yeah,
into
but I
it,
had sworn that they had found that,
we got more and more convinced.
if my
that we were
memory
on the
calls
right
me, that
track.
they had found dynamite and had actually
Chambliss
arrested
had done
Chambliss for this
it.
dynamite and then released him.
And that we also found out in the field, I believe.
A field, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's exactly
That
right.
guy was not at the same time.
Okay.
Been on Chambliss some more within almost minutes after it happened.
Do you think the FBI just ignored it, or they
No,
get a
no, we
conviction?
were a woman testified, she walked in the wrong room that was in his house.
And he went-
I think there were two separate early worse than what the
Now,
FBI did.
was it the,
They
they just couldn't got a conviction in Birmingham in '63 with that? I'm not
didn't
really
think
sure
that
how
an all-white jury
to find it.
would
transgender, or that would have been very tough.
A
man or lady.
Yeah, it would have been.
Didn't that person say that
some of these jurors in the South
make two statements that Chambliss said after Sunday they'll beg us to segregate? Well, I remember, and he came. I was reading something about, and there was two guys. And after it happened, nobody was supposed to die. Nobody was supposed to die.
That was his niece.
15 minutes after he was acquitted, both of them said, "Yeah, we killed him."
That testified to that. That's not the lady that testified about seeing dynamite.
Right. One thing about that case that's always that woman kind of caught me as a.
But that was the same woman
What
who
was it?
testified
What
about.
I think his name was Floyd Garrett.
Police
Officer. What did stop by Chambliss' house that morning for a shotgun? I believe.
He was Chambliss' nephew, I believe.
Yeah, what I said, son. I said, yeah. And I never knew why he was stopping by there, because it looked like a police officer would have his own shotgun or firearm, and why he needed to stop by Chambliss' house.
Now.
I knew allegedly the reason he did.
That case.
But I can't remember.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. So,
he was
I'm sitting on the jury.
For Chambliss in the trial.
You put the case for me. Well, I was talking to we got another attorney. 4 different girls, they're testifying, they're showing the rocks. But I brought up something out there. And I said, wasn't I think a Bob? Wasn't there some wet dynamite or some dynamite that was found used to detonate it? That's before wrong. Bombing or a few weeks after. I remember said, no, that was years before.
A lot of forensics, I believe.
It could have been. I just got it mistaken. But I thought there was some dynamite that was found.
You knew a lot more
there, as well as in the house when Chambliss went crazy about them entering one of the rooms.
Yeah, I think that's the understanding what you asked.
He told me, he said, the bomb. How did the bomb go off? Very nice to have me on there. He said, no, that was years before. Okay, because I've heard cases crossed.
They had some kind.
Let it go at that. But I sworn they found.
Okay, that's what
my memory calls me that they found dynamite and it actually arrested Chambliss. If I recall, and released it. There was another witness.
That was found out in a field, I believe.
A field, yes.
Yes, testified.
That was not at the same time.
You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Birmingham had street lights then. But she said she was from Detroit, I believe, and she identified Chambliss from the distance.
I think a woman testified she walked in the wrong room in his house.
And he went.
But I think there were two choices, Destined in Birmingham.
Now, was it
in a house right behind the church?
I'm not really sure how. Okay, right behind the church.
She came home late.
Transgender
at night.
The man or the lady.
Blanton's car.
Didn't that person say that
parked in the back?
Make two statements that Chambliss said after Sunday they'll beg us to segregate, and then he was saying after it happened nobody was supposed to die, nobody was supposed to die.
That was his niece, the one in the front passenger testified to that. That's Blanton's car. Also, she wrote down the tag number of Blanton's car.
That's right. I remember reading that.
Right.
But I remember reading it that she wrote down the tag number.
But that was the same woman who testified about.
I'm trying to remember if there was any more evidence. Hearing Chambliss say that she presented
the niece is the one that heard the testified that Chambliss. She was at that time a minister.
So I mean,
yeah, I'd read that she was.
And I remember when.
Was she a niece and then
Tom
became a man, or
John Robbins
became a nephew.
Okay. He was telling me, he talks about
a
car that circled
that case.
I'm going to ask you some questions before the vote. I mean, I'm sitting on the jury, and I guess what I'll say is, I'm on a jury.
You put the case for me.
You presented that evidence to me.
See the 4 dead girls.
Was you nervous about a hung jury?
Oh yeah, I was nervous.
Because that's what I mean. No offense to your case, but that's the highly. If I'm sitting on that case, I'm thinking hard about I remember I don't remember there wasn't a lot of forensics, I believe, as far as the bombing.
Concerned that we
and you know a lot more than I do. I just
had a good jury.
I mean, it is, I guess sometimes it works out that way because, when I first read, even when I looked at Blank and Cherry's case,
the bomb
really got
how did the bomb go off first?
the cases were really, not overwhelmingly
because I've
strong.
heard
They had some good juries on them, and I remember that there was one guy that read
okay, that's what that's what they was talking about. All right, now
bullets. I think I remember
there was
the initial vote was 11-1.
There was
I believe,
another witness
I read
that
to acquit.
testified, and
I don't
you
know.
can tell me if I'm wrong.
I'd read that in just one of the magazines. But she said she was from
you get out of that right Detroit, there.
She identified
Chambliss
from a distance.
Obviously it didn't
Glenn
heal everything that happened in Birmingham, but it helped.
And staying at a house right behind the
I don't know if closure's the right word, or right behind the church.
She came home late that night.
It helped the city a
and
lot.
saw Blanton's car
Being able to bring that man to
parked
justice.
in the back in
and,
the alley,
knowing
right
that he
behind
could never
the
harm
church,
another
right
child
by
again.
those stairs they left the bomb on.
So
and
now
she
comes the
identified,
1978
they showed
governor's race.
pictures, and she
Now,
positively identified
who
Chambliss as being
was the leading? Who was the
passenger
perceived
seat.
front runner? Was it Brewer?
Blanton's
Has
car.
he been the front runner?
Yeah, everybody thought Brewer was going to win.
That's right. I remember reading that.
Overwhelmingly. And it was,
I remember reading it.
14, I believe it was, running.
14 candidates, really?
Yeah.
Now,
And
I'm
there's
trying to
all
remember if there was
primary.
Right.
more
And
evidence
so back then, who won the primary?
presented in that case.
governor. And
I used to have notes.
there were 5, what I consider
So,
major.
I mean, and I remember
Three
when
B's,
when
Bob and Sid.
Yeah,
Tom,
that's it.
Brewer,
Brewer,
John
Beasley,
Robbins was actually going to talk to me.
Lee, Baxley.
He was
Sid
telling me,
McDonald,
talks
Tom
about him.
Well, when you mentioned
Brewer,
or excuse me,
circled
Beasley,
the
did
church
you really take him that serious?
two
Because,
times before the.
and I know I should have
bombing
done the phone, but I'd like you to tell me again. You know,
So I guess what I'll say is,
how did he
so-
almost get upset?
I'm
by
on
Charles
jury,
Woods,
and
and
you
presented
presented
that
that
evidence
evidence
to the
and
governor. I mean,
was you nervous about a hung jury, or?
Oh, yeah, Jerry,
I mean, because that's what I mean. No offense to your case, but you know that's a highly. If I'm sitting on that case, I'm thinking hard about it. You know.
I was very, he'd be concerned that we, in the run, he got in the runoff, ended up with just us folks running, a good jury. And
I mean, and it's,
in the runoff,
you know, I guess sometimes it works out that way because, you know, when I first read, even when I looked at Blaine and Cherry's case,
that
and
name, but I don't
that's
remember
when I really
much
got into all
Tom
of them.
Redney was in that race.
The cases were really, you know, not overwhelmingly strong. You know, they had some good juries on them, and I remember that there was one guy that rode around with them, but I bet you was sweating bullets. I think I remember the initial vote was 11-1, I believe. I read.
So that, I think that when
to
he
quit or to convict Chambliss.
in the press got on him pretty bad too.
I'd read that in just one of the magazines. So you get out of that right there. I mean, you just.
And so that's why Charles Woods.
Obviously, it didn't heal everything that happened in Birmingham.
So when you went into
helped.
'78, I guess, and they thought Brewer was
I
going
don't
to
know
win
if
hands
closure's
down. I guess
the
I
right
could see that.
word,
If that race he had against Wallace,
It helped
they
the
caught-
city a lot.
it was a great book. Being able to bring that man to justice.
Give a good chance to read it. The 25 dirtiest races in America.
He could never harm another child again. They said that basically,
So
you know, Brewer
now
came in there
comes
with
the
a message and
1978 governor's race.
ideas he wanted to do,
Now,
and Wallace
who
just made it as
Was the
as
lead?
race
Who was
and
the
dirty and
perceived
low down as
front
he
runner?
could
Was
get
it Brewer? Or since he'd been the
And,
front runner?
Yeah, everybody thought Brewer was
And
going
obviously
to win
won for him, but
Okay.
overwhelmingly. And it was,
So you said
14, I believe, run.
Beasley
14
seriously-
candidates, really?
Yeah.
I read that,
All the Democratic primary.
and we
Right.
talked about this, that
And so back
I
then, who won the
remember you called his
primary?
name, but he was
Yeah.
like James
Yeah.
Carville then, I think.
There were
in
5,
Tennessee.
what I consider
They
major.
said
candidates.
Bob went to him 3 times.
And that was
Three
They asked him to
B's,
run his
Bob and
campaign.
Sid.
Brewer,
And he told Fob
yeah, that's it.
no 3
Brewer,
times. The
Beasley,
4th time, Fob went and
Lee,
threw a whole lot of
Baxley.
money at him.
and Sid McDonald, and
And
Bob
he
Jackson.
said, okay. He said,
Well,
I'm going to take this campaign.
When you mentioned Brewer, or
So
excuse
you
me,
do exactly
Beasley,
what I tell you to do.
did you really take him that serious?
and how I tell you to do it.
And I know I should have done the phone,
And-
but
like
you
don't ask questions. And Bob said, "Okay." How did he almost get and he got in the race by Charles Woods? I remember because I asked you this. When did you make the statement that Bob would be a good governor if he was a serious candidate?
Run a really good campaign. I elected him in the governor. Point him each campaign. I made a statement, but I did say unknown, but Bob and Sid would be good governor.
Well,
and he beat, but that was he got in the runoff. It was a bunch of folks running, and he got. I didn't say that about Brewer or Beasley.
Well, that's what my next question was, is because, I wasn't always remember the campaign. I remember that name, but I don't know. What I've read,
Tom Redney was in that race.
The three of y'all had taken the gloves off.
They had a bunch of folks in there.
Y'all were going at it.
Well, he's good candidates in that race, and Jerry.
Battling each other.
Great campaign.
I don't know if you remember.
But then he got crossways with Governor
dirty
Wallace.
it got, or how a smart move. And how mean it got, mean-spirited it got, but of course, this didn't go with anything, like how I remember the 86 race was. They said this was a pretty no-holds barred between the three of y'all.
And they stayed after him. I never did think that Brewer, Charles Woods, almost was as strong a candidate as 74.
So, when you went into 78,
and the Brewer thought,
and they thought Brewer was going to win hands down. And I guess I can see that, because after that race he had against Wallace.
Because he almost beat George Wallace.
It was a great book.
8 years.
If you have a good chance to read 25 Dirtiest Races in American Political History.
I think where he miscalculated
said that basically
is he thought
Brewer came in there with a message
for him.
And
they
ideas he wanted to do, and
they were voting against George Wallace.
Just made it as
whoever it was
race
on the ballot
and dirty and
against
Wallace. George Wallace pointing that statement that people are more apt to. One for him. I mean, I don't know if he actually pointed when they said a lot of people are more apt to vote against somebody than they are to vote for him.
Wallace is the first one ever said that.
I read that.
That's true.
And we talked about this. And I remember you called his name, but he was like James Carville then, I think, in Tennessee. And they said Bob went to him 3 times.
Brewer thought they were all voting for him. I didn't think that.
And he told Bob, no, 3 times. Well, the 4th time, Bob went for a whole lot of money. This was a great article I read, by the way, because I mean, he said, okay, since I've been injured, I haven't been able to. He said, but you do exactly what I tell you to do. Basically, put my time. How I tell you to do it, and politics again, and study everything. Don't ask questions. They said he got in the race. Now y'all threw the battling out. I remember because I asked you this 4 days, 5 days. When did you make the statement? They released the first poll, and the governor, the whole state was shocked to see Bob in the lead, and people still wasn't believing it.
In the campaign, I made the statement. I did say,
and then election day, Bob
and
pulls off this
would be good governor.
Unbelievable victory over the 3 guys.
That was fairly early.
Did you still see it as Bob was? This ain't gonna happen. This guy's
I didn't say that.
Or did you start taking him serious at that point? Well, that's what my next question was. Is because I wasn't always remember the campaign, but from what I've read,
money first of all.
Yeah,
he had
the 3 of y'all. Was he spending? That's what I was fixing. Was he spending his own money?
Yeah, he spending his own money.
Y'all were going at it,
and he had it spent. And then that guy you
battling
mentioned that he had
the loss.
I
don't know if you remember how
he was from Memphis.
Dirty it got, or how mean it got, mean-spirited it got. But this didn't go with anything, like how I remember your 86 race was. But they said this was a pretty
ran all over the state in that yellow.
Pretty no-holds barred between the 3 of y'all.
Had these ads that tied in. I never did think that Brewer and was a strong.
Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Yeah, just a brilliant campaign. Everybody seemed to think. I saw it though. I think that Brewer greatly overestimated his.
What did you focus on then? You said Beasley was focusing, or Brewer was focusing on Wallace. What was your message?
Focused mostly on jumping on Brewer.
And said, okay, so your thing was you're just gonna take
I think where he miscalculated a little bit on Beasley is he thought all those people voting for him slacked off, and they weren't. In my opinion, they were voting against George Wallace. They'd have voted for whoever it was.
So if you had to go with it again, would you have went after Bob the whole time? George Wallace coined that statement.
No, I don't think he
People
could.
more apt to.
I think.
I mean, I don't know if he actually coined it. I know he said a lot. People are more apt to vote against.
And I mean,
somebody
and the
than they
thing
are
about
to go
fall,
vote
and I still say people,
Yeah, Wallace
people
was
say
the
stuff
first
about
one
it.
who said that. That
In my opinion, always
That's
bad
true.
miss when
I
I've
agree
heard him
with that.
talk and stuff.
And
It's
there was a
hard
lot
for
of
me not
people
to
that
like
were
the
wrong.
guy. I
Oh,
mean,
you can't not like him.
I mean,
I like Bob.
I mean,
I'm crazy about
I mean,
Wallace.
Bob's, I mean, and Bob's just funny, you know. You know, when he gets up there speaking, and when you, the reason I asked that about you said that.
Paper I read, this was a great article I read, by the way. 'Cause I mean,
I don't know if you recall it,
since
but
I've been injured and I haven't been able to
98,
work. I mean,
Wynton Blunt had challenged him in the
my
primary.
time
And this
politics
commercial
again,
comes on and it
just
shows the
studying
Alabama flag hanging in the background.
They said that
and it shows Blunt.
You know, as y'all was battling out,
And you can hear him talking, and it goes, I
4
think it's
days,
fair to
5
say
days
when his
before
team
the
came into
election,
office, they found
they
state
released the
government
first poll,
shambles.
and the whole state
They
was shocked and said Bob and
did some of this,
and people
created,
still wasn't believing it.
And major
just
windfalls in
and then
education in this
election day,
last
you know,
legislative
Bob
session.
office,
He has passed major reforms to our
unbelievable
court.
victory.
It gives me
over
great
the
pleasure to introduce
three
you to the
guys.
governor of the great state of Alabama.
Did you still
Governor
see
Bob
this
James.
Fob?
And at the end of the commercial, Fob smiles and says, "Why, thank you, Wynton.
Did you start
I'm
taking
deeply
it
honored
seriously
by
at
your
that
kind
point?
words."
And that was one of the greatest ads I've ever seen.
Ran.
He had the money, first of all.
Yeah.
He had more money than any negatives.
Was he spending? That's what I was fixing. Was he spending his own money?
Yeah, he spent it on.
Yeah.
When he was running that place you talking about against Winton, and then that guy you mentioned that
Winton
he has
was
kind of
the
his
loss
lows
or-
walk heavy, the low weight. And so Bob never did call him Winton. He called him Winton.
Well, if you remember else what happened to
Bob riding around in a yellow school bus.
Fob had been down there
Fob
at the
ran all over
school
the street in that yellow
board
school
and dancing
bus.
like a monkey. And
These
Blunt,
heads that tied in.
Wynton said, you know, he said,
And,
you know, we got the governor down there dancing like a monkey, and Fob said,
yeah,
well,
brilliant campaign.
I'm a monkey, and he's a
I
fat
saw
monkey.
it.
I'm an in-shape monkey.
Working.
He's just a fat monkey.
What did you focus on?
They had him
You
on,
said Beasley was focused, or Brewer was focused on.
He passed some kind of prayer bill.
Well, what was your
I was
message?
focused mostly on jumping on Brewer.
That he said something about.
Okay, so your thing was you're just gonna take
St.
okay.
Louis, the
Yeah, and then I was
papers.
a little bit on Beasley.
This ain't worth this paper ain't worth toilet paper. But that
Like
brought up a question about Fob.
Beasley towards the
I'm not old enough to remember Fob's first administration, but I can remember
If you had to go over
it again, we just went
In
after
second
Fob's
administration,
administration went almost back to old.
No, I
South.
don't think you could.
He declared
I think,
federal law
it was
null and
just
void in the
Bob's year.
state. And I mean, and the thing about Fob, I still say people, Judge Moore has like 10 commandments order to take down. He
In
said
my
if they do
opinion,
it, they'll be
always
staring down the
bad when I've
barrel
heard
of
him talking and
16s. I mean, it's
It's
hard for me not to
was
like
his
the guy.
first
you
and second.
can't
What
not
happened
like
to
him.
him?
I mean,
I like Bob.
I mean,
I'm crazy about
same.
him.
Bob's, I mean, and he's
Go
Bob's
with
just
Ed's
funny.
favorite,
That
yeah.
seems like total.
I
You know, when he
think
gets up there
Bob's pretty
speaking, when you,
consistent. I think he always felt like
the reason I
Well,
asked that about you,
said,
in his first time, did he run as a
Maybe
state's
good, but
rights? Because
I don't know if you
it
would call
was
it,
a
but
time
it,
for a new beginning, and you know, he 98.
he didn't
When
dwell
Blunt
on
had
that.
challenged him in the
He just
primary.
ran that first
And this commercial
time he
comes
ran,
on and it
those
shows the
plans
Alabama
that didn't-
flag hanging in the background.
just made
And
him
it shows
look
Blunt,
like what he was, a good
And-
old boy.
and
Yeah,
you
that's-
hear,
that's
hear him
about-
talking, and it goes.
about explains
I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say when his team
So,
came into office, they found
Now,
state
we talked
government
about this the
shambles.
other day.
They have
82, you're ready to
created,
rough together.
did some of this, created,
After Fob says he's not going to
major windfalls in education in this last legislative session.
He's going to make
He has
one more.
passed major reforms to our court.
You think
It
he could
gives
have
me
beat
great
Ross?
pleasure to introduce to you the governor of the great state of Alabama, Governor Fob James. And at the end of the commercial, Fob smiles and says, "Why, thank you, Wynton. I am deeply honored by your kind words."
And that was one of the greatest ads I've
let me
ever
ask you something,
seen.
Mr. Rand.
You know,
If-
Bob,
Let's do one question.
He didn't have any negatives. He was able to get away with things that,
Because I don't know what it broke down to with the black vote.
when he was
with
running that
Fob.
race you talking
But,
about against
you
Winton.
know, if
Winton was
Bob
kinda
got a lot of black
heavy.
votes, I mean,
real
you don't
overweight.
think Wallace
so
would
Fob
have been
never
able
did
to
call
cut
him
into
Winton, he
that
called him
like he did with those
Winton.
black belt
Well,
counties
if you remember else what happened to
against McMillan? Because
uh,
now if
Bob
I'm wrong,
had been
down
What year
there.
you talking about?
Well, what I'm talking about is this: when
School
board and dancing like a
when
monkey.
Fob ran 78.
And Winton went and said,
I think the
you know, he
vote
said,
total.
we got the governor down there
I
dancing
think
like a
the total
monkey,
was
and Fob said,
296 to 210,
well,
if something like that.
I'm a monkey,
I could be totally
he's a
wrong.
fat monkey.
But what I'm talking about
I'm an
is
in-shape monkey, see? He's just a fat
90,
monkey.
80,
And then they had him on
in 78, Fob got
so they had,
obviously got
they
some
passed
black
some kind of
votes.
prayer
So,
bill, and
don't you think you should have gotten 98% of the black vote
they said
then?
something about
Since you just come off that church
this ain't worth
vote?
Fob didn't
Papers,
get many black votes.
this ain't worth, this paper
You got
ain't worth
one
toilet
brewery.
paper.
These
But
have got
that brought
one.
up a question about Fob.
But I mean, just
I'm
in
not
the
on
runoff.
enough
In
member
the
Fob
runoff between you and
first
Fob.
administration. But I can remember a second administration.
90.
In second administration, when
90+%.
almost back
Yeah.
to
Well,
almost
I mean,
south.
you
know,
Now,
declared federal law,
in
null and void the
82,
state. When
when Wallace
Judge Moore had the Ten
Ran
Commandments
with
order to take down, he said if they
main
do it,
three
they'll be
running
staring down the
primary,
barrel of M16s. I mean,
George McMillan, and Joe
what was the difference between his
Mhm.
first and second, or what happened to him? He just
Wallace and McMillan.
decided to
McMillan,
go off the edge there because that seems like total.
I think Wallace pretty consistent. I think he always was 30%.
The vote,
what
in
I
his
say,
first
the
time, did he
paper I
run
seen
as a
in-
states'
in
rights?
terms
Because,
you know,
it was a time for a new beginning. And, you know, he went down to
dwell on
black
that.
belt,
No,
and that's where
he
he spent
just
his time
ran.
campaigning.
That first,
And the
time he ran,
election
it
night,
was
they had
little
declared
ads that
McMillan
didn't,
the winner. And
just
then
made
like
him
11 o'clock,
look like
these
what he was, a good old
votes
boy.
started changing.
And that's about,
And
that's about
those
explains
black
it.
belt
Yeah.
counties started reporting.
So,
and
now, we talked
McMillan's
about this the
lead
other day.
evaporated.
82,
Instead of
you're ready to
really
run
getting
for governor.
90%. He got like
That's
70%.
Fob says he's not going
And
to
that's
do it.
what cost him the race. But then
That's why I thought
George
I
Wallace
when I
decides he's going to make
mentioned
one
earlier
more.
that I would have won.
And you think you could have beaten Wallace?
Yeah, I
think
Wallace
that
would
would
not
be
have gotten
Wallace.
us that year. I think absolutely. The black vote he got
Right.
against
In
me,
my mind.
and he got that would be a pretty good percent of that year. The black
Well,
vote.
let me ask you something, Mr. Baxley. Yeah, I mean, that was
If-
amazing the amount he got.
Yeah,
This is a two-part question.
McMillan.
Do you think broke down to with the black vote?
if it would have
with
just
Fob,
been,
but
you know, if
Or had been in, it'd been a one-on-one
Fob
race,
got
Miller would have
a lot of
beat
black
Wallace
votes,
straight up
I
in the
mean,
primary. You don't think Wallace
What
would
now?
have been able?
if it would
cut
just
into
been
that,
like he
Wallace
did in those black
and
belt
McMillan
counties?
in the primary, and McCord wouldn't win it. He would have beaten Wallace against McMillan because. Now, if I'm
I
wrong,
don't know. What year are you talking about now?
well, what I'm talking about is this: when Fob ran 90,
Wallace
78.
went down there,
I apologize. Vote total
that-
next church, and
on
he got
the-
back in the
total
race
runoff
was 296
in
82
82.
or something like that.
Do
I
you
could be totally
remember?
wrong. But what I'm talking about is
Everybody
in,
said the
polls show
90
McMillan
80s.
leading him even going in.
In 78,
Fob
Fob got
runoff.
obviously
You
got some
recall
black
that, or-
votes. So
I
don't you think
remember
you should have gotten 98% of the black vote then?
And that's what I
Since you
missed.
just come off that church
about
voting trial.
78.
didn't-
Did you remember seeing like
Any black
where
vote.
you were standing in 78?
You got
Those
more
final
breweries.
polls going
Yeah,
in.
these polls, I saw.
Not only just in the runoff, in the
Brewer.
runoff between you and Fob.
They had
I
Brewer
think I got
winning
90,
the race.
yeah,
Where was you standing
I
at?
was like third, yeah.
Was you
Well,
behind Fob or
yeah,
Jerry?
Jerry. In
Really?
82.
And Beasley only got like 88% of the vote.
The first poll I saw showed Brewer at 40%. Main three running in the primary. Jerry had 17, George McMillan 7, and I had 14%.
Mhm.
And it was a runoff between Wallace and McMillan,
Yes.
asterisk, saying, 91%.
Yeah, it's funny how things like those change. I
Wallace
remember in
got
2006,
probably 30%.
I
The
went to
vote,
a
what I
Republican meeting,
said, the paper I
and
seen,
to hear George
you can tell
Jr.
it's just
speak,
story's wrong.
and they
said
had a
that
poll
Wallace,
listed.
in the runoff,
and
he
I
went
think
down to the black
that
belt, and that's
Mo
where he
Brooks
spent his
was up
time
there, yeah.
campaigning.
And
the
George Jr.
election
was
night, they had declared
65%.
McMillan the winner, and then
And I
like
think Mo
11
Brooks had
o'clock,
like 3.
these
And they had the
votes
same
started
thing, an
changing,
asterisk beside,
and
Luther
those black belt
Strange's name.
counties started reporting,
and he ended up beating
and
George
McMillan's lead
Jr. for that race.
evaporated.
So, I mean, I
Instead
guess
of
you can't
McMillan
ever
getting
tell.
90%,
So
he got
let's
like
get to
70%.
the one that,
And that's
of
what
course, I
cost him
followed
the race.
Reagan and Mondale, but
That's why.
Well,
I
the
thought
first memory I ever had of
mentioned
politics
earlier
is
that
I was
won.
just right before my 6th birthday, and I can remember up there in Blount County, the line as long as out there to those trees of white blue collar workers. And
yeah, I mean, that was amazing.
I remember my daddy holding me up, turned the lever for Wallace.
And, do you think if
and that really got me involved in politics? And you know, of course,
it'd been a one-on-one race.
I loved Reagan when I was like 7 years old.
Straight up in the primary.
So then,
what now?
86
was just been Wallace.
That's what I really got into.
Millen,
I still remember the first commercial I seen
he was beating Wallace.
And I don't know what it was, but I was like, man, I like that guy.
I don't know about that.
And I was, you know, I was pulling hard the whole time. And my daddy used to go
down there
to the paper every day. And back then, Birmingham
got back into the race,
and he would buy me a paper. And I would sit there and I would read every word about that election.
Everybody said the
I mean, I can tell
polls
you
showed McMillan
everything that went on. He let me read it. Now
we
had
all that or
very divided
I don't
family
remember
because
anything about polls.
that reminded me of something else too about
first
78. Did you remember seeing
Nancy Conn
where you were standing in 78? Those final polls going
in.
Dead.
Polls.
Charlie Braddock prosecuted that case, and
Brewer winning.
So half the family
they had Brewer winning the race.
Where was you
standing at?
Was divided for back.
Was you behind Bob or Jerry?
It was a war.
Jerry.
Really? And Beasley only got like 88% of the vote.
I can remember that race.
Showed Brewer.
I remember reading this thing in a poll that said that you led
17%
polls.
and I had 14%.
Usually around 7-8%, and
An asterisk.
and then Braddock would get really, really dirty. And
you know, it's funny how things like those
change. He could never get.
I remember in 2006
in that race,
I went to a Republican meeting and to hear George Jr. speak.
And before I get there, the first question I want to ask:
and I think
in the primary you got 36%, Braddock got 29%,
and George Jr.
got
was
23%.
65%.
Did the race in the
vote
primary show you
and
winning?
I think Mo Brooks had like
the
3.
race over
and they
Braddock,
the same
or did you
thing
show
in
it
asterisk
that?
beside
Well,
Luther
my
Strange's
gut
name,
feeling
and he ended up beating George Jr.
going in.
So I mean, I guess you
I
can't
wanted to
ever
be
tell.
in the runoff.
So let's get to
Why?
the one that,
I felt like,
of course, I mean, I followed Reagan and Mondale, but
Bob
well, the
was
first
getting
memory
all the votes
I ever have of
he
politics
was
is
gonna
I
get the
was
first time.
just right
But I
before
thought
my
he'd get enough
6th
way,
birthday, and I
I'd
can remember
be in a runoff.
up there in Blount County, the line as long as out there, to those trees
I noticed
of white blue collar
I thought
workers.
he ran
And I can remember my daddy holding me up to turn the lever
against
for Wallace.
He was trying to get in the runoff.
So, and that really got me
I've
involved in
seen
politics.
him,
And,
so he
you know,
runs
of
talk about
course,
some
I loved Reagan when I was like 7 years old.
Good ad.
Oh yeah,
86
that's fabulous.
Had an old
That's
ugly
what I really got
frog
into. I
running around
still
with
remember the
a
first
lily pad.
commercial I seen it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but I was
Being
like, man,
called,
I like that guy. I like that guy. And
well,
I was, I was pulling hard.
being
the
called a
whole
liar
time.
by fog.
And my daddy used
like
to go
being
to
called
the paper,
ugly by a
to the
frog.
store every day.
I remember
And
saying
back
that.
then, Birmingham News
Why
reporter,
is
and
it?
he would buy me,
Why'd you think
paper.
Bob's only gonna get?
and I would sit
Did
there
he
and I would read
lose all his
every word
popularity
about that
from
election.
the first time, or
I mean, I
He
can
just,
tell you
he had,
everything that went on. I mean, he let me read it.
I mean, 'cause
Now,
he meant to make a
we
great
had
comeback,
a
8 years later.
very divided family.
I think Bob had worn
My
a little thin on the
first
voters,
cousin,
by then.
Nancy Conn.
When did Braddock start coming on? I mean, did the
left
first
for
poll
dead.
show you
Charlie
and Fob,
Braddock
or you and
prosecuted that
McMillan, or
case.
where was McMillan standing at?
And so half the family was divided for
McMillan
Braddock, and half the family
the same
was
mistake
divided
Brewer
for
made.
back. I mean, it was
He
a
assumed
war. And
that
I can remember that
people
race.
were voting for him.
It's.
Well, he
I remember
voted
reading
for
this thing in a
Wallace.
poll that said that
They voted
you
for
led
McMillan.
in the
And
polls
they weren't. They were voting against George Wallace.
usually around 7-8%, and
Okay, so
and then Braddock would
then the
get
first
really,
Fob
really
was
dirty.
leading, or Fob was
And
leading you.
he'd get within 5.
The first
he
two,
could never get above
he was
5%.
leading Fobbs and
I was
Granick
always
in
leading.
that race.
and then Fobb was second.
And-
Bob was second, but Granick started gaining on.
Okay. Well,
Before I get there,
these right
first
here, stop
question I
it.
want to ask,
Yeah.
I got
in the
question
primary,
for
you
you.
got
I've always
36%.
Brady got 29. I
Did
think Fobb got like 23. Did the
rumors
race
of
primary
McMillan's
show
personal
you
life
winning
start to come out then?
the race over Granick, or did it show it closer than that?
Well, my gut feeling, I don't remember when we first going in. I know was I wanted to be on the runoff, say anything about it. And
Why? Well, I mean, I think that's
felt
an
like,
honorable thing for you. I
Bob
never
was going to get nip out
I
all the votes.
had heard
he
somebody
was
had
gonna
said
get
that
first time.
some kind of
But I
whisper
thought
campaign
he'd
started
get
about,
enough to where,
and
I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I'd known George McMillan
and when
20-something years.
Granick started coming
I
home,
call and talk to him occasionally. I think
and he's a good person. He's got a good family.
I think he's a fantastic man.
He ran
He's helped me out tremendously.
pretty bad
But somebody
ads
told me
against
that
Bob.
his
He was trying
whisper
to get in the
campaign
runoff.
started happening, and
I
didn't
seen
know
him, so he ran
anything
talk
about
about
that. So I just wondered if maybe that
Fobbs was
had hurt
fraud
McMillan.
and
And by the way, he said the other day when I was
Granick
telling
had
him,
an
I
ad,
said,
good ad.
I'm so
Oh,
excited
yeah,
about
it was
this
fabulous.
Had an
Bill
old ugly
Baxley. He
frog
said,
going,
well,
jumping
make,
around
well,
lily
make sure
pads.
you tell Bill I
Broke
said
it.
hello.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Being
Bill.
he's a good person. He's called something about Bob. Being called a liar by Bob is like being called ugly by a frog.
I
That
remember
man was
seeing
good.
that. Well, why?
Now, he had a
great.
Why'd you think
Fobbs only gonna get?
Because
Did he
I've
lose
got
all his
popularity.
popularity
We don't
for
have 4 years
the
to wait.
first time, or I mean,
He just-
And he ran
he
against
just,
Wallace in '82.
I mean, because he made him make
So-
a great comeback, 8 years later, election night.
And
I think
I can
Bob
remember,
was born-
I can remember, I was so excited because
One little thin.
had the lead, good lead over him.
And
And I asked my dad, I was like, well, when are they
When
going
did Granick start coming off? I mean, was
Did
the
the
first poll show
Yeah,
you
it
and
was only
Fobb,
3
or
weeks,
you and
son.
McMillan, or what
Well,
was
3
McMillan
weeks to an
standing at?
8-year-old, you're thinking you're going to be 25 years old. So that I'm sitting there. I'm
McMillan-
like, oh God. So
made the same
then I
mistake
start
we
reading, and
He assumed
I see where Granick starts getting personal with your life, and
people
the thing gets dirty. I mean, I've told somebody that I thought that
voting for
myself personally
and
was
they
one of
weren't.
the
They were
dirtiest
voting against
races
George Wallace.
that I've seen.
Um,
I've always, and I'm saying,
okay, so
wrong way.
but
I've always
then the
thought
first Fobbs was
politics
leading,
is a
or Fobbs
cutthroat
was
sport.
with you.
If you're going to play
Is
to win,
The first two, or
You
you was leading Fobbs
play
and
to
Granick
win.
Granick,
always lead.
and then Fobbs
I
was
said in
second.
debate.
Bob was second, but
Well,
Granick
you
started gaining on.
And
okay, I don't know if it was that. I
he
can
said
cut these
that
right here.
debate
Stop
later.
it.
Yeah.
Is it true
I got
that Charlie
a question
Granick
for you that
challenged
always
you to a
wondered,
fist fight?
because
Okay, I read that in the paper, and it
rumors
just,
of McMillan's personal.
or I read that in
life
an
started to come
article,
out
and it just struck me as hard. And I thought, I just can't see the Attorney General
No.
challenging the Lieutenant Governor to a fist fight.
Not even the remote allowing to say anything.
Okay, because I thought that was so.
Well, I mean, I
silly.
think that's an
So-
honorable thing for you.
I
And
never,
in these polls going in there,
I had heard
it said
somebody
you always
had
led.
said
Did Granick ever?
that,
Did
some
you
kind of
see? Did
whisper
he ever
campaign
lead you in a
started
poll
about-
going
and-
into the
And
runoff?
I don't know if it's true or not.
No.
I've known
Now,
George McMillan
when did he
20
start?
something years.
Because I think there was
call and talk
30,000
to him
votes
occasionally.
in the
I think
Republican
He's a
primary.
good person. He's
When
a
did
good
he
man.
start?
I think he's a
urging
fantastic
voters
man.
illegally cross
He's
over
helped me out
and
tremendously.
vote for him?
But somebody
he
told
did.
me that immediately right after whisper
The,
campaign started
yeah.
happening, and I
Okay.
didn't
We
know
knew that was gonna happen.
anything about that, so I
Did
just
you?
wondered
Yeah.
if maybe that had hurt
We
McMillan.
knew that.
And by the way, he said the other day when I was
We're
telling
gonna
him,
have
I said,
trouble.
I'm so excited when
Yeah, I mean, in a
Baxley,
close
he said,
race like that
well,
with 30,000
well,
votes.
make sure you
that's-
tell Bill I
that's
said
tough
hello.
race.
I think
I
lot
read
of-
that
I
when
love
y'all,
Bill.
because I watched that every day.
He's a
Yeah,
good
well,
person. He's
that
got a really
Nancy
good
War,
family.
not Nancy Worley, Nancy
His
Natalie
wife,
Davis.
wonderful
that
lady.
she- and I don't even know
His
what.
son,
I was surprised she
one of the
estimated you
chefs.
got that.
That man can cook.
But she
Now,
said
he had a
that,
great ad.
of her calculations.
I've got a flyer.
Granick got 85% of the
vote,
vote, and you got 15% of the
and he
vote.
ran against Wallace.
And I guess that's
82.
possible, but I just thought that seemed a little bit
So,
high with.
All right,
Especially with
election
being
night,
conservative.
and I
you
can
did
remember
more
watch. I can remember. I was so excited. I just didn't see. You had the lead. You had the lead over him.
That way.
And I asked my dad. I was like, "Well,
do you
when
remember
are they gonna?
testifying to that?
When are they gonna
Generally,
do
yeah.
runoff?"
I didn't remember.
He goes, "Well, it's gonna be 3 weeks, son." Well, 3 weeks
We
to an
knew-
8-year-old, you're thinking you're
Braddock
going to be 25
had
years
been
old.
there
So
before.
I'm
Right.
sitting
when
there.
they
Oh,
worked
God.
hardly, and he was
Right.
Then
The
I
70s,
start
right?
reading,
DA in
and
Mobile County as a Republican.
Yes, yes.
And he
before
Mhm.
Braddock
ran
starts
for
getting,
Attorney General as a Democrat.
life
And
and-
at that time, you had to be a Democrat to win. a
Yes,
state.
And the thing gets dirty. I mean,
Kind of like
I
we've
told
switched now.
somebody
Now
that
it's
I thought
the
that
exact opposite.
myself
Yeah.
personally was one of the dirtiest
Braddock
races
had
that I've seen.
good
And
inroads.
I've always,
in the
don't
Republican
take
Party.
the wrong way, I've always thought
Well, he was a Republican.
politics is a cutthroat sport. You know, if you're going to play to win, you
Bob had
got to play to
always been a
win.
Republican when he ran the first time.
I seen
What
her
did Bob
debate
say?
with you
Mama
and him.
called or something,
And
something.
I don't know if it was
almost
that,
like
if he said that was
Bryant
debate or
said.
later. But
No, Bob
that
said
Charlie
it was a
Braddock
more young
challenged you to a
Democrat, I
fist
believe.
fight?
No,
Okay, I read that in the paper, and it just,
Bob was a Republican.
or I read that in an
Back
article,
when
it,
it wasn't
it
popular
just
to
struck
do it.
me as hard.
Because
I
he was
thought-
actually on the.
I just can't say the
executive
attorney
committee.
general, and this was
challenging
in
the,
the
the lieutenant governor
No,
to a fist
one of the
fight.
biggest mistakes not even made, and Mo misjudging truth to that.
Okay, because I thought that was so silly.
Somebody,
So-
I think it might have been Tom.
And in
Braddock.
these polls going in there, did
Filed
it said you always led? Did
objection.
Braddock ever? Did you see? Did he ever
When
lead you in a
Bob
poll going
qualified
into
to
the?
run for governor
runoff?
in '78. No, I was an objection with the
Now,
Democratic committee.
When did he start? Because I think there was 30,000 votes that
I
voted
went
in
to
the
my
Republican
friends on the
primary.
committee.
When did he start
I
urging
was
these
strong
voters
with the
to
Democratic
illegally
committee.
cross over
And
and vote for him?
immediately. 'Cause I was
Immediately right
always
after
Democrat,
the,
majority of the state committee was loyalist.
Okay.
And we knew that was gonna happen. I went to him
Did you?
and said, please don't, and we knew that we were gonna have trouble.
Yeah, I read that. I read
Yeah.
that.
said,
I
let
mean,
him
a
run.
close race like that
He
with
ain't gonna
30,000 votes. That's
Yeah,
that's
30
a
or
tough race.
40,000 votes.
I read that when
All
because I
gonna
watched
come
that
off
every
out
day
the
that it went
Well, I
on.
thought he was gonna get
That Nancy Ward,
Republican-oriented business,
Natalie Davis,
Brook type
that
voter.
and I don't even know. What,
And if,
I'm surprised she estimated you got
didn't
this
vote
high,
for
but
Bob,
she
they'd be voting
said
for
that
Brewer. And so
out of her
I was
calculations,
responsible
Granite got
Technically,
85% of the
under the
vote, and
rules
you
of
got
the party,
15% of the Republican
then,
vote.
Bob shouldn't have been
Yeah,
allowed to
well, I
run.
guess that's possible, but I just
So-
think that seemed a little bit high.
So
with-
going into
especially
election,
with Greg being a conservative, and you being more of a
Was
moderate
you
liberal type candidate. I just didn't
cautiously
see-
optimistic as Reagan was
Republican
saying.
voted
Was you
that way.
scared? Was you confident of victory?
Do
Was
you remember her
nervous?
testifying
Did
to
you
that?
think
Generally,
Braddock's probably
yeah,
gonna beat
I didn't
me?
remember
Did
the
you?
specifics.
What was going through Bill
We knew-
Baxley's minds
See,
when
Braddock,
the polls closed at
Then they
7
were-
o'clock? And he
Right,
won those
back which
first
election,
terms?
they weren't 78 or 80.
Right, in the
86.
70s, right?
DA in
Won the
Mobile County as a
86.
Republican.
Yes, yes.
I felt
Mm-hmm.
ran for Attorney General as a Democrat, because at that time, you had to be a Democrat to win, and I was
Yes.
nervous that,
Kind of like we've switched now.
Now is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But Braddock had, beat Bob, good inroads in the Republican Party, and I would cause, and I worried about what would happen, because
Right. You know, I mean, after what's it? After the months, the fight, and the
Bob
going
had
and
always been
everything,
Republican.
going into
He
that
ran the
night.
first time.
Yeah. What did Bob say? Mama
they-
called or something.
Voters crossed over.
And it
It
turned
was
out
like
that
what
my
Coach
opponent
Bryant
was
said.
Braddock. I knew
No,
that.
Bob said it was a more again
So,
Democrat.
at
7
7
o'clock that night when the polls closed. Was you
He was,
nervous,
Bob was a Republican,
optimistic, hopeful?
back when it wasn't popular.
I
thought I'd
Because he was actually on the executive
Yeah,
committee.
a healthy.
And this was in like the early 70s.
But I knew that if the runoff, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in misjudging something.
If I recall right, because I remember how they put it up that
I
night.
think it might have been
The
Tom
votes,
Brad.
and, they put Braddock and
Filed
had back every 30
An
minutes. to show
objection.
up. And I can remember
When
it,
Bob qualified
you
to
probably
run
remember the
for
time
governor in
better.
78.
it was
Filed an
like
objection with the Democratic.
you led the whole night until
And
about 9 o'clock,
so
I guess.
I went
And
to
I
my
remember it
friends
being
on the
just
committee.
really close the whole time, and I remember
was strong.
Braddock
with the
going ahead.
committee.
Just by a few thousand votes. And I just kept watching,
So
and
I was
kept waiting
loyal
and
as
waiting
Democrat,
and
the
waiting and
majority of the
waiting
state
and
committee was
waiting.
loyal.
I was only 8,
And
and finally my
so I
parents
went
said,
to him and
you
said,
can't let,
please.
72% in,
Or-
you can't stay up the rest of the night, so.
Paul
Yeah, I
didn't
read
run
that.
close
I read that.
and let him run.
That's what, see, I remember that. I remember there was,
I tell you, it was 30 or 40,000 vote, man. Most all of them are gonna come off of Albert Brook. And I thought he was gonna get in the Republican-oriented business friends, Mountains Law type people down there in Montgomery that night, at the headquarters. They didn't vote for Bob, they'd be voting for Brewer. And so I was responsible for them just backing, because technically, under the rules of the party, so it ended up, Bob shouldn't have been allowed to run. Late that night,
so,
that was Denham County, it was Democratic.
so going into
Couple
election,
hundred votes out of
was
15,
you
20,000.
cautiously optimistic, as
very,
you
very
were
close.
say? Was you scared?
So I
Was you
saw my
confident in
friend
victory?
Cullen.
Was you nervous? Did you think
Going up to the
Braddock's
room,
probably going to beat me? Did
was-
you? I mean, what
Cullen
was,
returned
what was going through Bill
finally.
Baxley's mind
it looked like
when the
I was
polls
trailing.
closed at 7 o'clock and you
And I
waited for
was-
those
now, which
first
election
returns?
you talking about, 78 or 86?
86.
And so,
I'm going to 86.
86, in the elevator, I felt confident we didn't pull it out and come and leave the ticket. I'm sure sorry about nervous that, and I was afraid that, so the next morning, I got up early
That's
and
when Hunt.
beat fall, get stuck off ways
Mm.
in my phone, and I worried about what did happen, but
You know, I mean, after, what's it,
Baxley,
you know, months, the fight,
So I hadn't
and
slept
going
all
in and
night worrying
everything,
about what you
going
said.
into that night, when you knew that he
like Coleman
you
County,
know, begged the
it lets you
voters
down.
cross over.
When it turned out,
Was
we
you-
figured
you
my
know-
opponent was ready, I knew I had a problem.
So
If
at
you
7
had
o'clock that night, when the votes,
You got 49%
polls
of
closed, was
the
you
vote in Coleman County.
nervous,
If
optimistic,
you had gotten
hopeful?
49%, I thought I would lead out, and I did. White boxes in Alabama, fairly healthy lead, and I did. Victory that's ever been had. I knew if the runoff Coleman didn't let you down, if you'd have gotten that same percentage in every white box, you'd have been.
If I recall right,
Victory ever.
I knew.
I remember how they put it up
Brad
that
was-
night.
was not popular within, you know, the black population. I mean, I remember some of his commercials, and I can remember Baxley's controlled by the liberal black caucus. He led the whole night. Kept about throwing the
9 o'clock.
dog and whistle words in there.
And I remember it being just
really close the whole
and,
time.
you
And
know,
I remember
Braddock
how that
going
went
ahead.
with votes. A friend of
Just
mine,
by a few thousand
was a teacher,
votes.
and I just kept watching and
That-
kept waiting
that's
and waiting and waiting and waiting. The man's
waiting.
gay.
I was only
He
8.
told me that
And
when
finally,
he
my
was
parents said, "We can't
when
let
that race was going on,
72%
he
in.
he said,
Well,
because
you can't
Braddock
stay
had
the
promised
rest
to
of
make
the
a witch.
It was close.
He was
all
going to go
night.
after every homosexual.
That's what. See, I remember that. I remember
I'll
those.
tell you
state
a
about
little
Alabama.
story about a good
It
friend
had been
of mine.
removed. And I thought,
Cole.
this guy's evil. I
And
mean, maybe I'm being too harsh on him, but I mean,
we've been friends since
I-
law
I-
school.
I
He was
just,
down there in
I didn't like
Montgomery
him.
that night
I-
at the headquarters.
The first time I ever heard him talk through the whole
Yeah.
thing, I mean, I never liked Braddock.
So
So,
Coleman
what
County
time that night
was just back and forth,
did
back and forth, back and forth.
Bill Baxley know that
Uh,
he didn't have
ended
the votes
up
that Braddock was
late that night, Coleman County went for Gradick, a couple of hundred votes. It was late, out of probably 15, 20,000, how many ever voted. It was very, very close. And so I saw my friend from Coleman, is that I'm going up to the room, and after 12, Coleman returned
Sounds about
finally.
Now,
complete.
did you call Braddock?
Like I was trailing, I called and I was trailing, and I ended up losing Coleman
Did
County.
you?
And so at some point, but it wasn't, saw him in the elevator.
Concession.
I said, well, no, I told him we didn't pull it out in Coleman County. I said, I'm sure sorry about that. And I was thinking about filing a challenge. So the next morning,
Well, man,
I got
I've
up
tried
early
to,
and went
that's
down
when
to
Hunt explained that to so
went
many
down to get
people.
some coffee. And
And
my friend,
I don't want to say
Basically,
they're uneducated
lot.
or whatever, but
from Coleman.
I've tried to explain to some people. I said,
I
Alabama,
said, I hadn't slept all night.
the
worried
Democratic
about
South,
what you
there's a
said.
closed primary
Where did
state. I
you
said,
feel like
those were
Coleman
illegal
County,
votes
it let you
that
down.
crossed over and
He said,
voted.
but I finally
Charlie
figured
Graddick.
out this
Said, but
morning, about an hour and a
people
half.
didn't-
We were never able to, you had gotten explained, you got 49% why the vote was wrong, why we were right. And if you had gotten it, 49% is so simple, but we couldn't make it. If people didn't want
You made the great one with football analogy.
You had the biggest victory that's ever been had for governor. So in Alabama, if you'd have gotten that same percentage, we didn't have every white registration. You'd have been the biggest victory ever.
I knew
either
that,
primary.
yeah, Grant was, was not popular with
in
the black
Alabama or
population.
nowhere else.
I remember
Can
some
you
of his
go in and
commercials.
vote for the nominees
One
of
of
both
Baxley's
parties?
controlled by the
You got to
liberal
decide
black
which one you want to vote in.
caucus.
Right.
And
He-
you can't go to the Democratic convention
throwing
and
the
vote,
dog and whistle words.
nominate a president for the Democrats. And then,
and you know, and
3 weeks later, go to
whatever how
the
that went
Republican
with
convention and
a
nominate a
friend of mine,
Republican nominee.
He's a teacher.
I even as a
And
kid, I understood. I was like,
he's
I was like, that's illegal.
That's
That's
gay.
they can't
But
do that.
You
Tell
can vote
me
either
that
one you
he
want
was-
to, but you can't vote in both.
And my
that
grandfather,
race, he was scared to death. He
the
said
first
that
time he was born
Braddock
in
had promised to
1930,
make a witch hunt.
and the first time he ever voted
He
for
was gonna go
Republican
after every
was
homosexual
for Reagan, like
lesbian
a lot
teacher
of Southerners
in the state
did
of Alabama.
back then.
It
But
had been removed. And I
he
thought,
voted
well, you know, this
for
guy's
Braddock
evil.
in the
I mean,
primary.
maybe I'm being too harsh on him,
And
but
there was no
I
two
didn't like
ways
him
about it.
He was the first time I ever heard him
I
talk
voted for Hunt,
through the whole thing. I never liked Braddock.
and I
So,
knew some people were saying
What
that. I'm voting
time
for Hunt.
that night
And then the next day, I heard some people
Yeah.
wait and say, "Who the
Bill
hell is the guy?"
Baxley
Hunt?"
know that he didn't have the votes?
And I still
Correct.
remember the night because as I recall it,
Probably.
what the poll says you was going to lose. Now I found this great article that and I don't know, and I think what it was is
Sounds about right. Now,
a lot of people lie about
you
who
call
they're gonna
Braddock?
vote for, and I'd seen these polls that had you and him dead even going down the stretch. Now I don't know what your own internal poll said. But they had y'all like 40-40. But you know, I just felt it, and then like an hour later, you know, and my dad looked at it and said, he lost, son, and I mean that just tore me
I've
up
tried to
when I found out you lost that race to
explain that
Hunt.
to so many people.
Because
I don't want to say
because I just couldn't.
I pretty well knew we were gonna lose it.
I've tried to explain to some people. I said
I
Alabama
could keep Braddock
on the Democratic side
Yeah,
was a
as a
close
write-in
primary
candidate.
state. I said,
Yeah, that's what I was
those were
thinking
illegal
too.
votes
if we had done
that
that.
crossed over and voted.
Because you don't have to have a majority.
Right.
In the general
People
election.
didn't-
We were never able to explain to the
Do you-
people
Now,
why.
do you?
it was
And so, and
wrong.
I'll keep you
Why
much
we
longer
were
space.
right.
I'm really busy. If
And
you could have
explanation
been
is so simple,
in
we
the
couldn't make it,
reverse.
and people didn't want
You
to
made
do
the
And
great
they
one
take
with
away
football
from you.
analogy.
would you have stayed in as a write-in?
Well,
Because I don't
you
think I
can't-
could have dropped out if I
in
felt like I
Alabama,
won. And
we didn't
I
have
think I would have had to
party
stay in. I
registration.
mean,
And you could vote.
Forget Hunt.
In either primary.
I know it's a Right. tough
But
question for everybody to ask,
In
but
Alabama or nowhere else. Can you
I have
go
to say
in
that
and
it took
vote
a lot
for the
of
nominees of both parties.
I don't
You
know
got to decide which
humbleness
one you
by
want to vote
Braddock
in.
to
Right.
And
drop out because I
you
couldn't.
can't go to the
I mean,
Democratic convention
know that I was
and
educated
vote-
attorney general, and here's
nominate
this
a
guy
president for the
from
Democrats.
Holly Pond,
And
and
then,
he's gonna
3 weeks
benefit
later,
off
go to
this
the
right
Republican
here.
convention
I
and nominate
just
the
couldn't
Republican
do it.
nominee.
And I
and,
even as a kid, I
a
understood.
friend of mine
I was
told me
like,
that
I was
when
like,
they went in there that meeting,
that's illegal. That's
said
they can't do
Alabama
that.
You can vote either one you want to, but you
We're making a
can't vote
mistake.
in both.
And my
we need to have
grandfather,
a new vote.
the first time he was born in 1930, and the
No,
first time he ever voted
he
for
said that,
Republican was for Reagan, like
About
a lot
filing a
of
challenge?
Southerners did. back
No, he
then.
said when they went in there
But,
and the Supreme Court said
he voted
either choose Baxley as
for
the
Braddock
nominee
in the
or have a new
primary.
vote.
and
And they and the party the
there was
voted,
no two ways about it.
choose you as a
He
nominee.
told you
He
straight,
said
I'm
the
voting
mayor
for
told the
Hunt.
party,
I'm voting for Hunt.
the
And
committee, he said,
I knew so many
"We're
people
making a
saying that I'm
mistake."
voting for Hunt. And then the next day,
He
I heard
said,
some
we need to have
people
another
say,
vote if we're going to
who
do
the
this.
hell is Guy Hunt?
I remember that
And
being the issue.
And I still remember the night because
Yeah, I remember
I-
Braddock put out these things that said he had these stickers that who picks the candidate.
as I recall it,
Yeah, oh, he ate
what
us
the
alive
poll
with
says you
that.
was going to lose.
Yeah.
Now I found this great article.
So, was there ever?
And I don't know.
a
I
time
think
in
what
the
it
race
was
that
is
you ever got close?
a lot of people lie about who they're going to
Hunt.
vote for,
And I'd seen these polls that had you and him dead even the whole time going down the stretch. Now I don't know what your own internal poll said, and I'll get this, but they had y'all like 40-40. You got a busy day, and I just felt it, and then like an hour later, and my dad looked at it and said, he 1978, and I mean that would have been if you tore me up when I found out you lost that race to 44-year-old Bill Baxley. Because it's just served 2 terms as governor. Yeah, because I just couldn't. And you're looking at 1988. Your candidates: Walter Mondale. I mean, not Walter Mondale. Michael Dukakis, Jesse Jackson. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Gore.
If we had done that, I would have won.
Gary Hart. Right. You can't tell me you would have been licking your chops, looking at them, knowing I could beat any one of those.
I never would have won.
Do you? And sorry, I don't keep you much longer, especially busy. Well, tell me, I've heard in the reverse, and they take it away from you. Would you have stayed in the right hand? Near and near. Because I don't think I could have dropped out if I felt like I won. And I think I would have had to stay in. I mean, forget Hunt. Build it, love women and alcohol. I know it's a tough question for everybody to ask, but I have to say that it took a lot of, I don't know, humbleness by Graddick to drop out, because I could have done it. I mean, I thought about that. Attorney General, and there's this guy, because I love playing that Holly Pond, and he's going to benefit off this right here. What if he ran in '88 and he beat Stu Caucus? And a friend of mine told me that when they went in there that meeting, I mean, it's Al Pierce said, bounce out the ticket, probably not with Dukakis. Making a mistake. Him against Bush. You need to have a new. That's a totally different race. And then if you'd won in '86, I don't know. If he said that, Democratic nomination would have came down between you and Clinton.
Filing a challenge.
No, he said when they went in there, an interesting Supreme Court said either choose Baxley as the nominee or having you vote. Would you have ever accepted a cabinet position? Choose you as the nominee. He said Lapierre told the party. The committee, he said, we're making a mistake.
What I felt like we needed to do for
He said, we need to have another vote if we're going to do this. And I said, what did you want think needs to be done? I mean, I remember Graddick was already bad. Said, he had these stickers that who picks the candidate, the people, or the...
Yeah, he can start with the He Ate Us Alive recruitment of industry. The majority who have bought it still developed automobile.
So, was there ever a time in that race that you ever got close to Hunt?
I just think there's a ton of stuff that
show the whole time.
Only person that can fix it.
And I'll get this because I know you got a busy man, you got a busy day. And I've paged on this twice, but I got to do it again. I mean, I got 2 more 1978, and I'll let you go. So that would have been if you won the. And I said on my podcast Bill Baxley that I said just served 2 terms as governor. Wallace was, and you're looking at 1988. Your candidates Walter Mondale, not Walter Mondale, Michael Dukakis. He had a 2-1 lead over governing delegates. Gore, he had 1 million more votes. I said. And if you gave me Gary Hart, they energized George Wallace, you wouldn't have been base coming out of that convention and not Richard Nixon. I said I would have taken my chances with Wallace.
Ever under any circumstance. I'll tell you who else.
Well, tell me. I've heard many people. I believe Nixon too.
I think Nixon.
Somebody's near and dear a tribute. I don't say no because I love your death. Well, I heard he put his. I read when I started studying Wallace. I was about 18 years old. Women and alcohol. I remember his last term was but I got really enthralled with him. And I started reading every book I could on him. And that's when I found out that Wallace was not the people. He was a different man than later years. But they said put $500,000. I thought about that and I thought, and I mean I can't imagine how much money that would be. Things in my head. In Brewer's campaign. And what if he in today's money in '88 and he beats Stu Caucus?
It was a lot of money.
And it's Stu Caucus.
We tracked it down.
Yeah, I mean it's him and bounce out the ticket probably not with Dukakis. Him against Bush because I believe that's a totally different race. And then if you won in '86, Wallace would have beat him. The Democratic nomination would have came down between you and Clinton. The other one was that would have been an interesting race. I mean,
a man that believes in equality and
would you have ever
everybody should be
accepted
treated
a
fairly,
cabinet position?
and have a fair shake.
Maybe.
How did you
All I really wanted
become such
was to be
good
governor and
friends
try to do
and
what
close
I felt like
with
we
George
needed to do
Wallace?
for Alabama.
Now, what? And
I just always
what
liked
did
him.
you want?
I never.
Think that needs to
I
be
never
done.
minced
I mean,
words
our
with him.
education was already
I never told him.
bad. I mean, it's
That's the
poor.
only way just as believers do it. He knew that I didn't believe like that, but as a person, I liked him.
Do you believe Wallace truly believed everything?
No, I do not. I don't think he did.
That-
Ever.
That's what I said on the podcast the other night. I said he never believed that, and I said I've heard him.
Wallace never believed that stuff and all stuff, but I tell you, the dead giveaway, the only person that can proof for that belief is the governor. He's got to when I came in office, she's got to know how to get things done through the legislature, and I felt like I could do that.
I got two more for you, and I'll let you go
Guy
because
that
I know you're busy.
was the incumbent attorney general
And I said this on my
all these
podcast
cases
the other night that
in
I said
federal
when
court.
72 and Wallace was running
Aimed
for
at
president, I
blocking
said,
blacks
not only was he
beyond
winning,
jurors
I said,
voting,
he was winning big. I
things
said
like
he was.
that.
He had a 2-1 lead over McGovern in delegates.
Make a
He
list
had
of those
1
cases.
million more votes. I said,
And
and if
go
you
around
gave me
each
my
list.
choice of a energized George Wallace with a fired up base coming out of that convention
Day
against
before,
Richard Nixon,
we're gonna dismiss
I said I would have taken my chances with Wallace.
I thought, I tell you who else I believe that was Nixon. To
I believe Nixon
tell
was
him
it.
that I'm fixing to take the next case. Nixon was, I ain't gonna change him. That's why he put all that Watergate money.
Well, I heard he
His
put.
brewers
I
charge.
heard. I read 'cause when I started
Just
studying
take
Wallace,
support, not
I was
the
about
government.
18 years old.
And
I remember his last term,
But
but I
went
got
to
really
the
enthralled
telly.
with him, and I started reading every book I could on him, and that's when I found out that Wallace was the
And man,
not
I was
the
sweating bullets.
people. He was a different man than later years. But they said he put $500,000 in
Yes.
his campaign in
Starting
1970,
out,
and I mean I can't imagine how much money that would be
getting
in Brewer's
involved with
campaign
the governor
in today's
and
money.
it's something I gotta do. It was a lot of money overseeing. Got on the phone, tracked it down, how much of it came from where and who picked it up, and come as a courtesy and give you a heads up. so you
Because
can
I believe
leave.
he knew that because I've said it a lot of times. I said Wallace would have beat him.
Yeah, and his
Now,
father
the other one was
trying to stop civil
you.
rights.
I mean,
It's-
a man
people think they ain't gonna win
that
any
believes
anyway.
in equality
That's the right thing.
and
I'm not gonna allow my
that
office to
everybody
be
should be
used
treated fairly
that those positions were not
and have a
taken.
fair shake.
And I wanted to
How did you
keep my eye on
become
you,
such good friends and close
So then I
with George
thought,
Wallace?
oh, here it comes. He said,
Do
I
you-
just always
Bill,
liked him.
Said, I'm not gonna try to tell you how to run your office, and I don't expect you to be telling me how to run mine, but let's talk about so-and-so.
I supported him.
Chatted and chatted, we
I didn't
never
believe
said
like
another
that.
word. The only thing he ever
liked him.
Do you believe Wallace truly
After
believed
that-
everything?
No,
2 or 3
I do
more
not.
times.
I don't think he did say.
That,
You ever get these bad letters?
that's what I
about
said on the
dismissing those
podcast the other
cases?
night. I said he never believed that, and I said I've heard him.
And then later on, believe that stuff. When I hired the first black, I tell you, they had to give a janitor or a cafeteria worker. Proof hired that belief.
Myron Thompson, yes.
He was an assistant attorney general, office as attorney general. And I didn't ask Wallace permission on that. I didn't first give him 2 weeks. That wasn't his business. That was mine. But I reckon 2 or 3 or 4 times. The guy that I beat was the incumbent. After that happened, he'd see me on all these cases.
Did you ever get any bad letters about,
in
hiring,
federal court.
that young man?
Aimed at blocking, I said, blacks.
Yeah, Governor, I got
jurors
two.
and voting. I said, but I got about 25 like that. And so I had
It's
them.
like I've seen so many black leaders
Like
go around and
this, those
say,
cases.
yes, man, Wallace never believed that. Wallace was from Barber County.
Dismissal.
And once I got into it,
So
I just, I
Day
never
before,
believed it either
we're gonna
that,
dismiss
that Wallace was behind that. So
I thought,
I was wondering,
Wallace did everything he could to say he was sorry that he had done it.
well, I mean, and I pointed that out to somebody. I said, when he went down to Dexter Baptist Church in 1979, he had no idea he was going to run for office again. He could have just went home and said, "The hell with it." But he went down there and sincerely apologized. I thought that was
I'm gonna go tell.
the heartfelt.
I don't think there's any question he didn't believe it, and I think he regretted it. He just beat Brewer.
I mean, man, yeah, and the man paid,
Yes.
greatly.
Yeah,
And,
starting
now,
out, first
and
2
just
weeks
one more quick
in
thing.
office,
His son, though,
getting crossed.
I seen where he would go speak before the Conservative Christian Council, and I was like, man, that's almost a white supremacist group. He did twice, and I don't know if it was what George Jr. was doing. I mean, I met him twice, and like I said, he was a nice guy, but he just wasn't his daddy. And,
I'm very fond of all Governor Wallace's children. They're all gay in his file. I'm crazy about trying.
Well, I'm not like George Jr. I mean, I do. And so my final question is,
we're not giving up anything.
and I watched
anyway.
clip after clip after clip, and I watched speech, and I would rewind it, and I would listen, and I would listen to the keywords. Do you think that Donald Trump ran George Wallace's campaign in 2016?
I'm not gonna try to tell you how to run your
There were
office.
so
I don't
many
expect you
times
to be
that
telling
I
me how to run
seen,
mine, but let's talk about so.
Wallace went up there
Chatted. We didn't.
talk
never
about
said
the New
another
York
word. The only thing
Times.
Ever,
Went up there and
ever.
say, every time you
Said
people show up, you get me a
After
million more
that,
votes.
2 or 3 more
There
times.
was one speech
He'd
that
say,
Trump actually
Y'all
gave
get me
where
bad
Wallace
letters
said
about,
NATO
business
needs to be
negotiations.
paying for us to be spending for their money, spending for their
And then later
defenses.
on,
Drain the swamp, send them a message.
A janitor or a cafeteria worker.
I think he ran
Byron
the
Thompson,
exact
yeah.
same
Assistant Attorney General.
campaign that George Wallace
And
ran.
I didn't ask Wallace permission on that. I didn't give him notice. I figured that was his business. Dignified. But I reckon 2 or 3 or 4 times, George Wallace, after that happened, he'd see me and he'd slip in and down.
Did you ever get any bad letters about,
Okay,
Byron,
that's a fair statement.
that young man?
But as far as the campaigns were ran,
Yeah, Governor, I got 2.
do you think there were similarities
25 good.
between the Wallace campaign
It's like, I've seen so many black
and
leaders in
Trump
Trump's
campaign of who they were trying
that Wallace was
play
County,
on?
and
I'm not even gonna talk about it.
And once I got into it, that's fair enough.
I just I never
Um,
believed it either.
I've kept enough of your time.
I've
Wallace was
enjoyed
behind
this.
that.
Thanks.
If
I'm
you
going,
know,
Wallace
I would
did
love to do it
everything he
again
could
sometime
to,
if you got time.
Say he was sorry.
Because
Well, I mean, and I
I
pointed that out to somebody. I said,
talking to
when he
you,
went
I mean,
down to Dexter Baptist Church in 1979.
I could sit here talking to you all day long.
You know more
He
about
could've just
Alabama
went home and
politics than a
said,
young man I've
hell
ever.
with it, but
Well,
he
he
went
went down there and
when you told me that,
sincerely apologized.
and that
and,
when we went to that
I thought that was
country club, that was the greatest
I
honor that
don't think there's any
I guess
question
anybody's ever
he
said to
didn't believe
me.
it.
And I wished when I was 16 or 17 years old and I was paging in the house,
and the
and
man
I knew
paid,
all of
for
these guys
greatly.
And, I wish that I
just
knew
one more
somebody. His son though.
I
Just,
seen where he would go
or if I find you more that would gave me some guidance,
and I was like,
and
man,
I mean, there's no
almost
telling where
white
that I
supremacist
could do
group.
something.
Twice, and I don't know.
I got
if it
thinking
was-
the other day. I said it's not too
What
late,
if-
so
what
I started
George
writing
Jr.
this
did?
blog.
I met him
twice,
and I started doing these interviews with
these
nice guy, but
politicians.
He just wasn't his daddy.
Different people, and I mean, who knows? Maybe I could still. There's a guy, and I was going to ask you your advice on this right here. There's I'm a not guy, like a George trench candidate,
and I do.
Blunt County.
So my final
Everybody knows
question
him.
is-
His name is David Standridge, and I
He's been
watched
there for a lot of times.
clip after clip.
He's
after
not
clip.
been in the county in
And I
2
watched
years.
speech, and
Not
I would
even
rewind
visit.
it, and I would listen,
Not to his
and I would
hometown.
listen to the.
He's been traveling all over the
keywords
world.
Do you
They haven't
think
seen him anywhere?
that Donald Trump?
And I was going to start going down to some of
ran
these,
George Wallace,
McDonald's where you got, a bunch of older men down there that's holding
There were
court
so
every
many
morning
times
that
that I
so that these
seen
guys say, and
Wallace.
see if I
went
can
up
sneak
there,
up on
this
this
guy. Talk about the New York Times. Point up there and say, every time you people show up, you get me 1 million more votes.
Wouldn't know.
Well, the way I
There was
figured it
one
is,
speech.
I don't have
Trump
no money to really
actually
spend.
gave
It
where
cost me
Wallace said,
$950
NATO needs to
to
be paying for us to be spending for their
join
money,
to qualify. And Lewis told me, he goes, "Well, I know
drain
you
the
get out working and knock
swamp,
on
send
every
them a
door in the
message."
county." He said,
So you ain't got nothing to lose.
"I think
with it.
he ran the
But,
exact same
again,
campaign."
thank you so
that George
much. I
Wallace
mean, I
ran.
enjoyed this.
Well,
This was great. I love talking to
I
you.
don't know that I'd dignify.
I hated you didn't get governor because I remember I was so shocked that day when you called me, and I tell people that all the time. I said
My opinion.
that shows the
how genuine the man
that's
was
a fair
is
statement.
because he could have just
But
had a secretary
as far as
stamp
the campaigns were
Lieutenant
ran,
Governor Bill Baxley on it. I
you
said,
think he
but
took
no,
those
he's in the heat of a
similarities
race, and he takes the
between
time to call
Wallace
a 7-year-old
campaign
kid and tells him he got his
Trump
letter
campaign of who
and
they
thanked
were
him
trying
for support and was going to
play
send
on.
a limousine to come get him for his inauguration. And
That's fair enough,
That
Mr.
shows
Baxley.
what type of character you have as a
I've kept enough
man,
of
Mr.
time.
Baxley, and I've always admired you for that.
If you know, if
Thank you very
I would
much,
love
sir.
to.
Sorry for taking up so much of
It's
your time.
okay.
If you got
Enjoy
time,
anytime
and I'll give you a call. Probably,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
talking
as
to
we get
you,
closer
I
to
mean,
the
election season, and get your
I,
advice.
I can sit here and talk to you all
I'm
day
supposed to
long.
help Robin Lydecker again. Unfortunately, that you know, when you told me that when we went to that country club, that was the greatest honor that I guess anybody's ever said to me. And I wished when I was 16 or 17 years old, I was paging in the house, and I knew all of these guys. I wished that I knew somebody that just or if I find you more that would have gave me some guidance. And I mean, there's no telling where that I could have did something. But I got thinking the other day, I said, it's not too late. So I started writing this blog, and I started doing these interviews with these politicians, different people. And I mean, who knows, maybe I could still, there's a guy, and I was going to ask you your advice on this right here. There's a guy, he's an entrenched candidate in Blount County. Everybody knows him. His name is David Standridge. He's been there for a lot of times. He's not been in the county in 2 years, not even to visit, not to his hometown. He's been traveling all over the world. They haven't seen him anywhere. And I was going to start going down to some of these, McDonald's where you got, a bunch of older men down there that's holding court every morning and just see what these guys say and see if I could sneak up on this guy.
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Well, the way I figured it is, I don't have no money to really spend. It cost me $950 to join, to qualify. And Lewis told me, he goes, well, I know you'd outwork him and knock on every door in the county. He said, so you ain't got nothing to lose with it. But again, thank you so much. I mean, I enjoyed this. This was great. I love talking to you. I hated you didn't get governor because I remember I was so shocked that day when you called me, and I tell people that all the time. I said that shows the how genuine the man was, is because he could have just had a secretary stamp Lieutenant Governor Bill Baxley on it. I said, but no, he's in the heat of a race, and he takes the time to call a 7-year-old kid and tells him he got his letter and thanked him for support and was going to send a limousine to come get him for his inauguration. And that shows what type of character you have as a man, Mr. Baxley, and I've always admired you for that.
Well, I enjoy talking to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry for taking up so much of your time.
It's okay. Enjoy it.
And I'll give you a call, probably, as we get closer to the election season and get your advice on it. I'm supposed to help Robin Lydecker again. Unfortunately,